Good evening. The Who's today in Sydney were on at Rosehill. Um, the track was given out a dead five, and before the last, they upgraded it to a dead four, then a good three. The Stipe said, but of course it was a heavy 10 on the inside, and it was. They said it was a good three, but as I say, near the fence was apparently no good because they didn't even come into the first race. Uh, the leader swung wide. They never ventured in there and stayed wide all day. Um, the rail was out 3 metres and there was a very light nor'easter which didn't have any effect. Um, well, of course, Black Caviar um, went on her merry way again today. She's undoubtedly she'll have to go down the record books naturally as one of the all-time greats. Uh, a very smart person said to me once, how do you depict the champions from? Well, a good way to work out horses who are champions um, is by their starting price, and it makes so much sense. Of course, Farlap, um, every time Farlap went around, it was unbackable odds, just like Black Caviar is at the moment, although apparently, what was it, they let you lay the 10, they let you lay the Broody hen on today, we'll have your 10 for one, and and of course she absolutely strolled in, and every time, well, you know, they're of course, well, Kingston Town, I suppose you can, Kingston Town, of course, was a champion. But there are plenty of horses who do get that tag but you know, when they do go around in races, of course, you can have even money about the champion and lay 10 to 9 on and 5 to 4 on and 2 to 1 on, but and Black Caviar, she goes around at those short odds, um, such short odds each time, which makes so much sense to say that it depicts that she is obviously a champion mare. There were mugs around, of course, before she went to England, who said there's a good chance she might never win another race. Of course, those people aren't remembered. If she happened to have got beat, of course, you'd hear people say, "Oh, so and so said, you know, she'd get beat," and of course they say, "What a good judge he or she must be." But of course, they're never remembered when she keeps on winning. And of course, the opposite happens if someone, of course, says, "Well, look, don't even worry about it. You can put your house on her. Just put your house on her." And if she happens to get beat, of course, well, that person unfortunately is remembered and is a complete and utter fool. But anyway, she got home today, and let's hope she retires undefeated. Anyway, back to Rosehill. Um, well, it was very obvious watching the first race that the outside was the best. It led and set a good pace in front, fast clip, ridden by the pumper. And when he came to the turn, he didn't venture anywhere near the fence. He was a good 4 off the fence, if not a bit wider. And of course, the second horse in this race, Carry Me Bluey, it sat midfield 3 wide without cover all the way. And when they swung for home, naturally was still the widest, and he moved up and got past the favourite Frozen Rope, who it was announced was going to be ridden closer today, and they most certainly did. Jovial Josh Parr sat in 4th position, but as I say, after turning for home, Carry Me Bluey headed the favourite Frozen Rope, who had raced up to the leaders by this time and got it, well, if not a half a length in front, a long neck in front of Frozen Rope. But Frozen Rope, of course, came again. I think I might, it's run at Warwick Farm was impossible to make up, well, not impossible, to make up ground, but to make up a lot of ground and win at Warwick Farm, the way the track was playing last start. It did show what a good run Frozen Ropes run it was that day. It more or less took no part and made a long searching run. And as I say, it came again today and beat Carry Me Bluey. In this first race, on the screen for the robots, there was 106.6. And in the marketplace, well, we did have positive figures. And at the very, very top odds, around about 104%. It wasn't bad, but unfortunately the Avery got home. We put it up a 5-4 chance, got out to 6-4, bookies reached for it. It was into $2.30 at one stage, no better, but got back out to start at the $2.50 mark when they jumped. It was a second pick fast clip. It was labelled at $3.50 and $3.40 for whatever you wanted. And there were quite a few other runners in this race backed. Actually, there were lots of, the flux in this race were fast clip 9-4 out to $3.60, back into about $3.50 permit. You could lay it at $21. You could lay Carry Me Bluey at $9. You could lay Winning Glory at $18. You could lay Gazaguru at $61. You could lay the favourite at 6-4 and $2.40. You could lay Capers at $31.26. Southern Sky might have been a bit hard to lay, but if they $51 or $41 they take. And Sailor's Farewell, as much as $21 was given about Sailor's Farewell. They only started $14 or $13 hard to get. Very well backed. But as I say, it was no good for the captains. The Avery got the cash. Come the second, and again, the two favourites crossed the line together here, talking about, well, with 0.2 of the length between them, Steps in Time and Red Tracer. Now, on the screen it says 104.3. We had positive figures again in the marketplace, about 102%. These were the flux. Pearl Tart went from $8 out to $9.50. Red Tracer, it opened up 6-4, $2.50, but it opened up favourite, or equal favourite, and got out to $3, if not $3, yes, or $3. I think I might have seen $3.10. What's the difference on one board? And at one stage, well, it finished up starting favourite at $2.60 on my board, at least when they jumped, if not other boards as well, of course. But and it was very easy to lay at the $2.70, and I was laying it at $2.60 when they jumped. Steps in Time. Now it was the first one they came for. We put it up, say, 13 to 8 second pick. Now it was $2.60, $2 out to $2.70 or $2.80 even, but back into about $2.30, clear favourite halfway through the betting, and then the stock market turned around and they came for Red Tracer, and it got back out Steps in Time to start $2.70 or either $2.80 Steps in Time, $2.80 Steps in Time, and hard to lay at the finish. All they wanted was Red Tracer. Ladies Angel, it was very hard to lay, went from about $9 out to 18. Capital Commander went from $17 out to $26. Choice Words, always well backed, $11 given, plenty of it. Only started $9.50, and it was liable free to air at one stage, even though it started $101. It was backed at one stage at $101. He went straight to the front, the pumper, Cassidy, and of course it was 3 kilos off for the Cassidy. For the pumper, he led. Looking at it was Capital Commander, a couple of lengths away, and a couple of lengths, 1.5 lengths away to Red Tracer, getting a pearl of a run. And of course, he moved up Bowman, got past Capital Commander, turning for home, but failed to run down the Steps in Time, who had 57 on his back, less 3, as I say, for Jay Cassidy. He only carried 54 and was able to beat it by the head. The third horse in this race, the Choice Words, well, it copped a bit of a prat at the start, and it went back to a clear last position on the fence and made up plenty of ground in the straight, easing off and weaving in between runners to be beaten 2 lengths. Wasn't a bad run. Maybe if it would have gone forward in the race and been in Red Tracer's position, it would have made the race interesting. Race 3, they said this was for the 2-year-old colts, They said there was 107 on the screen for the robots. They were a little bit 5% less than the marketplace, about 102. Now this Avery, I think they returned at evening, even money. It was $2.15 on one board on the fence and $2.10 on one or two others. It was $2.15, as I say, when they jump. You fill your bag whatever you wanted one stage at evens. They even laid you the 10 to 9 on for a little bit of section. And it went straight to the front. Terrific Tommy Berry, he was a Jerry, the fence was no good. It led from the inside alley, coming to the turn with the winner, Never Can Tell, ridden by proper Peter Roble on its outside. And they got to the middle of the track after swinging for home. As I say, Whittington was well off the fence when it was swinging, and it was a bit too strong, Never Can Tell, finished a half a length in front of Whittington, and it was 3 lengths back to the Criterion, number 3, who, well, it sat in about 6th position, found the line pretty well, Criterion. If you said to me which horse will be improved most out of this race, I would most probably say it, Criterion. It looked to have a bit of improvement in it. The second, well, the flux, as I say, we put it up evens, Whittington, and it was Polack straight away in the 10 to 9 on. But as I say, got back to $2.15 by the time they jumped. Criterion, it's a bit easy in the market, went from $7 out to $9. The winner, Never Can Tell, went from $8 out to $10 back into $9 and $9.50. Napa Shinny, it was $4.60 out to $6 into $5.50. It missed the kick. It missed the kick. The rider said it didn't concentrate in the run. It was a fairly ordinary run. It wasn't even going good enough for him to swing wide, turning for home. It was full bore. It passed one runner. It passed a 60 to 1 chance in the second last hole, beaten 8.3 lengths. I must admit, it was a fairly poor run. Maybe it could have left its gallop on the track at Gosford during the week. It ran in between races at Gosford during the week, and it went full bore there over the last 600, breaking 34, I think. But he's a very capable trainer, Grant Allard. He knows what he's doing. But the horse did, after missing the kick today, showing no pace, which it did at its first start, it went fairly poorly. That's about all you'd say there. The ones below Napasini there was a little bit of section about for a few of them. You could pluck a little bit of section here and there. The winner layable at $10, as I say. Race 4 for the robots, 104.2 on the screen. This was for the fillies. This is the Widden, and there was 104.2 on the screen for the robots, as I say. But only about 98. We gave losing figures in this race, and one I can see straight away, of course, is the Avery. The best luck about this favourite is $1.75. Well, with 2 minutes, I started at $1.80 for a start. I was $1.80 when they jumped, and it was on the fence. And just before they jumped, I was $1.85, and it was $1.85 on the fence as well. And it strolled in, this horse, over reach. Got beat in Melbourne. Gaze brought it to Sydney. It went straight to the I Own the Lead. This favourite. We put it up $1.80. Well, $1.75. It went up $1.80. It didn't appear on the flux screen, of course. And at one stage, I was laying this runner at $1.65 for good section. I must have rocks in my head, although I must admit I did have a fairly good book, because number 1 here, Brilliant Bisque, who sat outside the Avery, it came across from the wide alley. It opened up the $5 second pick and got out to as much as $7. Well, I was $5 when they jumped, and I did catch it at the $5 for a good bit of section, and $5.50 for something, and it started $5 on my board. And there were quite a few other runners in this race layable. I laid some good bets against Most Joyful, the stablemate to the winner. $17 bet, started $15, And I also laid at number 12 in this race. How do you say this one is? A 50 Shades. Oh yes, 50 Shades of Grey. It was $26 out to 51 into 31. I laid it at 51 for at least 10,000. And there were a couple of other runners. Thumps was backed, or not Thumps. Thump. It was. They took $18. Started 17. But this favourite, as I say, it went straight to the front, and it strolled in, coming off its back. And when they turned for home, of course, he was a Jerry, Tommy Terrific. He was already five. He was 5 off the fence, turning for home, leading, and he just steered a passage all the way down the straight in the middle of the track, and went away and won by 5.8 lengths, saluting the crowd as he went past the winning post. And it came off his back from barrier 1 average and ran second, and Brilliant Bisque just held on for third after sitting outside the lead. But the favourite there was far superior. She looks to be fairly good. Race number 5, they said there was 102.3 on the screen. There was only 97 in the marketplace. Now these were the flux. Sacred Falls went from open up 320, got out to 360, started the 15 to 8, $2.90 or even $2.90 Avery. It started the favourite. Rosehill went from $8, I was $13 when they jumped, started 13. Now Ashokan, as we know, had the blinkers off today and was to be ridden from behind. It did settle third, three wide in this race, and it was well backed. It opened up $5 and bookies reached for it fairly quickly out to $6.50, easy to get. It only started, and in one stage they'd kill you for $5. Never went worse than $4.80, but it started 5. Honoris went from 30 out to 61. Now this favourite, Rebel Dane, this was a very, very good. It's not very big, this gelding. It is not very big. Went up. We put it up 6 to 4, and with the backing for number 1, bookies reached for Rebel Dane out to $3.20, starting that price. It was $3.20 when they jumped, and I'll tell you how it raced in a minute. Tax Me If You Can was 26 out of 51. Urquidez, who raced without its front pads on today, it was $12 killed for at one stage, but it was $13 when they jumped on my board at least. Went from 8 out to 12 taken, even $11 taken, but started 13. Plenty of money for number 1, forced these runners out. And Casino Swoop, it was 26 out to 51, and the bottom one, Attaboy Ross, was 41 out to 71. Now this favourite, he copped a slight check at the start and went back to a clear last, tucked in behind them coming down the side, and they hadn't gone fast. Casino Swoop leading, it ran last, beaten 10 lengths. And when they turned for home, as I say, there hadn't been a lot of pace. If they had, it would have breezed in, but it eased off their heels, turning for home, and came very wide, which of course was the right place to be, but they were all wide. And chasing the leader was Urquidez, who Nathan Berry was aboard, and as I told you, Nathan Berry's mother said there's not a struck match. You can't separate any. They've got equal ability, Tommy Terrific and Nathan, and he had got past the leader and waited until they got to about the 200 when they really levelled out and went for Urquidez. I wonder with its front pads off, it might have felt its knees, but it most probably didn't because of the give in the ground. And unfortunately for Urquidez's supporters, this very genuine Rebel Dane, who's now 4 from 4, came right down the outside and grabbed the prize on the line. It was most probably the best run of the day. Race 6, They said there was 103.8 on the screen, but there was a tick under the spot, tick under the 100 in the marketplace, about 99. Now, Fontaine, it started favourite. It was so well backed. Now, we put it up $5. You wouldn't see it. Well, the best fluck here is $4.60. I did see $5.50. Bit of difference there. Plenty of $5. You have to be a blind man not to get $5. And it was Poleaxe. One of the pros had and look, I take my hat on. Everybody will know who I'm talking about. He's our biggest pro. I'll take my hat off to him. Take him out of the betting ring, and I'll tell you what. He generates so much business between all of the bookmakers, and a lot of punters, of course, following him. And I take my hat off to him. He backs up all the time. He'll be out on the won't be backing up a while tomorrow. On Sunday, he takes the family out on the cruiser on the harbour, and they have a picnic. It's a big cruiser, and with guests on board, of course. But he plays all during the week at all the provincial meetings and all the city meetings, and he put a poultice on Fontaine. It was $5.50 into $3.60 or 50 even when they jumped, and when it didn't lead, well, it was a shot duck. There's number 2 in this race, Dear Demi. Well, I did lay 5,000 against it at one stage at $10, but I was $11 when they jumped, opened up $8. Longport, I'm embarrassed to say I was $15 when they jumped. I think it was returned a lot shorter than that. It was $15 given into $11 at one stage, but I was 15 when they jumped. Ichikara, very well backed Ichikara. It started $7 on one board only, as much as $8.50 was given about it. It did start $7 one board only. It ran a good race, ran second. It came across and led Ichikara. Jade Marauder was labelled at $19 after opening up $15. Now this winner, Vendetta, this race was over. This race was over after they went 200 metres. Have a look at the tape and you'll see where it was sitting. If you know the form and what the mother and the glory is, this race, in my opinion, was over after they went 200 metres. Flying Stitzel was $17 out to 26. She Rocks My World. I happened to lay 10,000 to 50. It only got beat 81.1 lengths. It's going to the paddock after today. It's got a trial. Brave Soul, very well back to $10. Only started 9 after opening up only a $7 chance. And Secret Delight, well, I bet at least 10,000 against it, about $17, I think. And it started $16 after opening up $14. Plenty of runners backed. Why wouldn't it be when there's only 99? And as I say, this race was over after they went 200 metres. It came across and led and stayed 4 and 5 off the fence all the way. Ichikara. Tucked in behind it was Fontaine. Sitting on the outside of that pair was Flying Schnitzel. Then you had a line of 3, Longport wide, in between, and then inside it, She Rocks My World. And then tailing Fontaine was Secret Delight. And then you had this opening favourite, Vendetta. It'll be hard. It'll go better when it even gets onto the dry tracks. We put it up a 9 to 4 chance. Bookies reach for it, especially with the solid backing for Fontaine, and it was $4. It started $4, but when it was reached for, it did get out to the $4, most probably labelled at $3.80, but most certainly at one stage the betting labelled at the $4 into $3.80, but got back out to start $4, and he got into the exact right position and eased off the heels, turning for home, and won by 1.8 lengths. Race and Fontaine, unfortunately, when it didn't lead and couldn't control the race and so forth and so forth, it was going to be hard for it from there on in. Race 7, 104.8 on the screen for the robots. And even though we only gave 100% here at top odds, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as it looked. because you could lay, well, these were the flux, you could lay every runner here. Fibrillation, it went from $12 out to 16 taken into 15. Darcy the Good, $13 out to 17, back into about $14 hard to get. Riva de Largo went from $5.50 out to $9 taken. Bellow, a bit hard to lay Bellow, I must admit. And I've made a blue here because Bellow, I've said there was 100, well, there's going to be nearly 3 less here because Bellow went from a $7 chance out to a $11 chance, a 10 to 1 pop. So we only bet about 98 here. The Holoney, very well backed. It missed the kick and was held up slightly, but and was close to the fence in the worst going. It stuck tight up against it with the pumper on board. It was well backed. They killed you for 11 and 10, and even the $9 Holoney. The favourite Soldad, very easy to lay it. Opened up 350, got to $4, plenty of boards, and they killed you for $4, $3.80 and $3.70. Even 360. Eyes of Babe, you had to go to 21 to lay it. Aeronautical, now this was it was hard to catch on the way out. It opened up a 7 to 2 chance, Aeronautical, and it was only being facetious, $4.60 out to $12 but taken, and the $11 was taken. It did start $10 Aeronautical. Maroney Avenue, well, I half missed this. I was as much as SP only $12 or $13. I was 16 when they jumped, but at one stage they'd kill you for $14, Maroney Avenue. And number one gun, well, I couldn't understand the backing for this. Every fool's got to be right every now and again, and that I'm putting myself on top of the list. I marked it much longer, this runner. I did stand it for a good bit of section. I bet $7, and they took the 7 off me, and they took the $6.50, and they took the $6. And they even, I could even lay it at $5.50 at one stage, which I never ever wound off. But I might have even wound it off into $5. Well, straight back, but it did start $6 when they jumped, and it led and held. It was I thought a doubt at running the Journey, number one gun. That form at Warwick Farm last start, and its previous form, I didn't think was up to this. But as I say, every mug's got to be right every now and again. And Riva de Largo, well, if you could believe its win last start and say to yourself, which is very easy now to see, that this Mr. Waller, Chris Waller, has obviously got the key to this horse now. He had it for 2 or 3 runs or whatever, 3 runs, and it went fairly average. But its last 2 wins, last win and today's win, they were very strong. It just sat midfield looking at the leaders, and with Catwalk Corey Brown on board, it was really highballing coming to the turn, and it just went in between runners and went away and won by 1.8 lengths, with number 4, who was on its outside, Bellow, proving that it wasn't a fluke, finishing in front of its stablemate last start, Soldad. It ran second, and coming from about third last position, always running on, was Aeronautical. The favourite in that race went fairly Ocean Liner. I'm talking about Soldad. It sat in third place looking at the leaders, and it ran second last, beaten 6.4. It might have, even though it's only had 2 runs, well, it mightn't have come up. Race 8. Now this race here, there's a bit of difference between the fluck and the marketplace. For the robots, 106.1, but in the marketplace we only got to 95. I might have been one of the culprits here. Looking at it straight away, I can see a good difference in about 5% straight away, and I'm talking about Under the Sun, the favourite, who only got beat a 3/4 of an inch or a half an inch. They returned to $3.20. Well, I was $4 when they jumped, and finding it hard to lay by the same token. But not that I didn't lay it. I did lay plenty of it at $3.50. They kill you for at one stage. You had to wind it off. but I was $4 when they jumped. Now these were the flux in this race. Irish Jig was open up $8, got to 9 taken, but started at 9 on my board anyway. Leprechaun, 30 out to 40, taken the 40. At least laid 5,000 against that price, but started $51. Under the Sun, well, put up 9 to 4, got out, bookies reached for it, got out to $3.60, $3.70 very quickly. It was into 340, as I say, or even 30, 330 at one stage, and I've laid it at 330, but did start $4. A Gister. Now, the pro that I was talking to you earlier on, I'll take my hat off to him again. I'll tip my hat to him. He's a marvel. He backed 3 runners in this race that I know of, and they were Under the Sun, the Avery. He did take all the 370, 360, and 350. He also backed a runner in this race called Upshot. After opening up, well, I'll get to it, or I'll tell you now, 550. It got out to $8. It only started its opening price, 550. Put a poultice on it, but he had a large plate of the winner. I'm embarrassed to say I had a bad result in this race. I bet as much as $19 about Agister. Early enough, it was the first runner back. It put the market up. I was $19, it was there on the fence, and it went off straight away. It was $19 taken into 17, and the 17 was taken into 16, and the 16 into 15, and it sat there for a good while. And it started, well, it was $8 on my board when they jumped and they returned to 750. You couldn't get $8 on the fence. I was 8 there, the outer, and it started $7.50. So I was $18, an 18 to 1 chance into sevens. And take my hat off to him. He absolutely had a good few plates of this. He did take as much as 15 off me. He took 13 off me. He took $11 off me. And I'm embarrassed to say he how much me at the, well, I'm not embarrassed to say, but he how much me at the $9. I had to make it in, I had to wind into 8. Now we got down to it. And it was $19, as I say, into $8. Australian Star, a bit hard to lay, $7 or $6.50 out to $10 when they jumped to me. Curinata went from $13 out to 17, back into 16. Superior Instinct, a bit hard to lay, although I did lay it, $17 to 41. Likewise was Villa Akazi Street, 17 out to 31, back into 26. I did lay 6,200 at one stage, started 26. Now, the next pair was scratched. Now, High on Believing, it was a bit hard to lay, I must admit. It went from $5.50 out to $8.50 taken back, or no, what am I talking about? It was $9 when they jumped. It was the if you called it, well, you might have something out of the wreck, but it was fairly hard to lay High on Believing, 9 to 2 out to 8s. Upshot, I told you, was $5.50 out to $8, even $8.50 back into $5.50, and the stablemate to High on Believing, Monsiel, well, I was 16 when they jumped into one stage. You could have laid it at 14 for whatever you wanted. It was $12 out to 14, back into say $13, 12 to 1 chance. But I was 16 when they jumped. I did lay it for something, and the way this race was run was a bit of a pattern. It wasn't all day. It found the lead. Agister came across from a wide alley. Did it have the outside alley? No, it didn't. Or did it? Yes, it did have the outside alley, Agister. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 11 runners, and it had barrier 11, and it was able to cross, ridden by Christian Reith, and found the bunny. And he, of course, being the good rider he is, it was a Jerry. The fence was no good. You lead, you control. And that's exactly what he did. 5 off the fence, turning for home. And he held that margin all the way down the straight. Sitting out on his outside looking at him after being crossed at the start was the favourite Under the Sun, and then he got beat the ½ inch. Just failed to bob him on the line. And the third horse came from 4th last, Upshot, in between runners, ridden by horseman Huey Bowman. And to be only beaten 0.3 of a length, was 0.1 by 0.3, about ½ an inch by a long neck. And coming from 3rd last, getting up on the inside of them after missing the kick and copping a bit of a check at the start was Australian Star, it would have been a huge result for the captains. But this winner took out an absolute fortune in the ring. Going back to Upshot, Horseman Bowman and Pride, Joe Pride, they looked at the tape after the race. It was everybody thought there would be a protest. The feeling was, yes, Horseman Bowman will protest against the winner. That would have meant that, if it was upheld, running third, that Under the Sun would have got the race. But everyone was more or less of the opinion there would be a protest. But well, I thought he would most probably protest, but it would be dismissed. But Horseman Bowman, he was a jury that he didn't have much chance, and there was only a very slight little bit of interference, and he didn't even bother protesting. That was the meeting, and if you had a bet there, whether punting or you were fielding them, I hope you had some luck. Wyong's on tomorrow. I'm out of my feet. I'll talk to you later on. Good evening.